What do you think power is? Is it the smiling faces surrounding you, the nodding heads of approval, or the clinking of glasses every time you win? We often chase the mirage of connection, mistaking influence for safety. But in reality, the higher you climb, the more you realize that power does not attract loyalty. It only exposes the limits of human nature. Why is it that even when they are gone, you feel a lingering ache in your chest? And why are the very hands that once lifted you up the same ones ready to seize your position at the first opportunity? The Stoics warned us, a mind that moves closer to stillness moves closer to true power, the kind of strength that stands firm in silence, requiring no stage and no applause. Welcome back to Stoic Journey, a sanctuary for the part of you that is tired of performing for hollow cheers and is ready to rise through true self-mastery rather than flashy titles. If you crave an unshakable self in this world of noise, hit subscribe, like, and share to help us spread the mindset of silent leaders. Leave a comment about the moment you realized you were truly alone on your journey, because that is exactly when your fortress began its construction. Ask yourself one final question before we go deeper. Who are you really when no one is watching and no applause is heard? If that question unsettles you, take a deep breath. Your journey begins right here. 1. The paradox of power and painful refinement. The paradox of strength lies in this: it was never a collective activity. When you begin to strive for greatness, the world often cheers. The crowd loves a beginning, especially when your ascent doesn't yet threaten their status. But the further you go, the more you feel the weight of silence. This narrowing of your circle isn't because you've become distant, it's because you've become selective, choosing which voices enter your mind and which hands touch your work. The crowd shrinks into a circle, then a line, and sometimes only a shadow behind you. True power is not found in the number of people you gather, but in your courage to walk alone when necessary. Consider the man who gives up mindless entertainment to pursue an ambitious project. At first, friends are supportive, but when you achieve what they cannot touch, that support quickly turns to coldness. Those who once stood by you feel betrayed, not because you harmed them, but because you grew without their permission. They call it a lack of loyalty, but it is actually the price of evolution. Those who complain loudest about your distance are usually those who benefited most when you had no boundaries. They stayed to warm themselves by your fire, and when the fire no longer serves them, they leave. You didn't lose them. Your journey is simply naturally filtering out what is no longer in alignment. The Stoic response to this refinement is to stop explaining and stop apologizing. When you lower your standards to appease others, you have strayed from the path of greatness. View solitude not as a punishment, but as a protection, a clean space where your thoughts are not distorted by the noise of fake support. True power needs no spotlight. It belongs to the man who can sit alone with his decisions, losing approval without panicking. When you accept this truth, you stop craving the crowd and start seeking a purer atmosphere, where stillness doesn't make you weak, but makes you sharp. 2. The internal fortress and the emotional filter. When the crowd recedes, you don't fall into loneliness. You enter the most critical phase, building your internal fortress. This fortress isn't made of stone and steel, but of intention and invisible boundaries that everyone can sense. In a world that pulls you in every direction, guarding your mind is no longer an option. It is a condition for survival. If you do not stand guard at your own gate, others will enter through flattery, guilt, or manipulation disguised as care. The intrusion is rarely loud. It starts with an invitation subtle enough to make you doubt your intuition. Look at a leader in the midst of a crisis. If his fear leaks, the entire system shakes before the problem even manifests. The mask of steadfastness is not fake. It is a protective structure that prevents fleeting emotions from warping decisions. Power is not about displaying every emotion, but about controlled expression. We mistake proximity for understanding, but many are more curious about your wounds than they are ready to help carry them. Keeping a part of your inner world to yourself is not coldness, it is wisdom. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters that keep your mind pure. When you refuse a meaningless invitation or an endless argument, people will say you've changed. Yes, because you are now acutely aware of the value of your time and stillness. To maintain your fortress, practice strategic withdrawal. Pause for a beat before every stimulus. Don't react instantly to criticism or rumors. Step back to see the whole picture. That stillness is not empty. It is a powerful presence that makes you difficult to manipulate. The fortress does not eliminate pain. It requires you to accept the asceticism of being misunderstood. Learn to sit still while being misrepresented without rushing to explain. Strength doesn't come from winning an argument, but from not needing to participate. When you master silence, you realize the greatest threat isn't a direct attack, but something seemingly sweet. Trust. Do you truly know who holds the keys to your inner sanctum? Be careful, for betrayal doesn't begin with a scream, but with the moment you believe you are safe. 3. The currency of trust and the brutal grace of betrayal. In youth, we give trust like a natural breath, assuming good intentions will be met with equal kindness. But the journey to maturity teaches us that trust is not a gift to be handed out freely. It is the rarest and most expensive currency. The higher you climb the ladder of self-mastery and power, the greater the price of each coin. Every crack is no longer just a moment of vulnerability. It is a risk that can collapse the entire fortress you've built. The painful paradox is the person who can hurt you most is not a distant enemy, but the person you let sit beside you, the one who knows your scars and your fears. Betrayal rarely starts with a frontal assault. It begins the moment you relax in a warmth you thought was eternal, an envious glance when you succeed, or a silent withdrawal when you need an anchor. Look at a strategic partner or a longtime friend. They don't betray out of innate malice, but because an unrefined nature will prioritize personal safety and self-interest when under pressure. When you outgrow your old self, your presence becomes a mirror reflecting their stagnation. Extinguishing your fire is their way of feeling better about themselves. Do not waste energy asking why or seeking explanations from the one who turned their back. See betrayal as a brutal grace. It strips away the final illusion, exposing the cracks in your foundation so you can rebuild with stronger materials, the insight and discipline of an awakened mind. The lesson is not to doubt everything or close your heart in bitterness, but to be more refined in observing human nature. Look at how they treat those who bring them no benefit, or how they act when you are no longer a resource for them. Loyalty isn't tested in the middle of a grand feast. It is forged in hardship and consistency over the years. Do not hand over the keys to your soul too early, just to ease your loneliness. Let time do the work of sifting. Having few people touch your inner world doesn't make you poor. It makes your mission pure. When a toxic relationship closes, walk away lightly. True safety doesn't lie in holding the trust of others, but in never losing your honesty with yourself. As the noise of betrayal fades, a new strength will rise from the absence, an invisible gravity that makes your voice heavier than ever before. Have you ever wondered why withdrawal is sometimes the most powerful attack, and how your absence can become a form of power that the world craves? 4. The gravity of absence. the art of value through finitude. Once the echoes of betrayal fade and your internal fortress is formed, you will realize a law of power. It does not lie in how many times you appear, but in the void you leave behind when you depart. We live in an era where connection is mistaken for oxygen, where everyone competes to be seen and responded to. But anything constantly available inevitably loses its luster. When you are too accessible, your voice loses its weight and your presence becomes a habit rather than a privilege. True power needs no spotlight. It belongs to the man who can sit alone with his decisions, lose approval without panicking, and walk past praise without looking back. Scarcity is not a gimmick. It is an understanding of self-worth. Gold is precious because it is rare. True influence requires compression, not volume. Every time you show up just because you fear being forgotten, you dilute your identity. Let your absence speak for itself. When you withdraw from unnecessary noise, the world will assign a greater meaning to your presence. Mystery, when anchored by integrity, becomes a gravity that forces others to listen when you finally speak. The method here is intentional presence. Do not react to every stimulus. Do not answer every message instantly, and do not feel guilty for choosing stillness over superficial interaction. Stop measuring your value by the number of people who see you. Build your strength from strategic silence. Carl Jung once noted that the more a person tries to impress, the less they are impressed with themselves. Therefore, instead of chasing admiration, create the space for others to realize your value on their own. You don't need to be the center of every room. Move with such clarity and self-respect that even your absence carries weight. 5. The peak without applause, when the ego becomes a mirror. Our mountain climb does not end with a cheering crowd, but with a silence so profound you can hear every beat of your own heart. Most people crave recognition and use the noise of the crowd as fuel to move forward. But as you climb higher, the applause will thin out, and you will face something few are prepared for: absolute silence. The peak is not actually a bright stage for performance. It is a naked mirror where all self-illusions are stripped away. If you have never learned to stand before that mirror without trembling, you will destroy yourself the moment you reach success, because the stillness at the top amplifies every insecurity you once tried to drown out with noise. The deepest perspective you need to internalize now is that the purpose of climbing the mountain was never for the world to see you, but for you to see the world more clearly. When you no longer need the world's consent to feel valuable, you achieve a revolutionary state of freedom. A confidence based not on results or praise, but on the consistency between your actions and your core values. The greatest lesson lies in absolute self-trust, a strength forged in mornings no one sees and efforts no one knows. This power doesn't need to scream for attention. It radiates from the composure and certainty of a man who knows exactly who he is without needing anyone else to understand or agree. 6. Forging equanimity in the face of betrayal. Betrayal does not begin with a direct stab. It begins with trust, the moment you let your guard down and believe someone would never harm you. This is the most dangerous illusion, for betrayal rarely comes from strangers, but from those you call family, mentors who guided you, or those who sat beside you every day. When it happens, the instinct is to scream for justice or drown in the question, why? But the Stoics teach a different view. Betrayal is not an unexpected tragedy, but a consequence of unrefined human nature. Seneca reminded us that he who anticipates trouble strips it of its power when it arrives. Therefore, equanimity is not apathy. It is the acceptance that humans often prioritize their own interests when faced with pressure or envy. Consider a long-term professional relationship where you shared trade secrets. only to see them used against you. Instead of bitterness, understand that you didn't lose a friend. You are simply undergoing a natural refinement, removing what is no longer in harmony with your mission. The trail becomes a brutal grace, stripping away the last illusion and exposing the cracks that need reinforcing. You don't need to win an argument with the one who turned their back, nor do you need their understanding. The most practical method is to close the chapter. No more energy, no more access, no more questions. The greatest lesson is to never let the actions of others define who you are. Equanimity arrives when you stop depending on others to keep their promises in order for you to feel stable. When your internal fortress is strong enough, the trail is no longer a shock. It is data to adjust your course. You still love and connect, but with clear boundaries, never handing over the keys to your soul for the sake of a few flashy promises. Betrayal doesn't make you callous. It makes you sharper and more selective, ensuring that what remains is only true value and worthy people. The path we have walked is not just dry philosophy. It is a clarion call for souls yearning for true autonomy. Remember, strength does not lie in how loud you can speak, but in how much weight your silence holds for the world around you. If these words have touched your deepest corners, it is a sign that you are ready to walk your own path, where power begins with stillness. And perhaps the greatest transformation is this: you no longer seek to be understood by everyone because you have finally understood yourself. You no longer chase approval because you have anchored your worth within. The betrayals, the solitude, the narrowing circle, they were not punishments but refinements. They stripped away illusion so that only what is real could remain. In that quiet refinement, you discovered a strength that does not tremble when applause fades, a clarity that does not blur when others walk away. Thank you for joining Stoic Journey on this path of awakening. Continue to feed the fire within by subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss the next lessons on the Stoic path. Don't just listen, live these values, because the peak may be lonely, but the view from there is a gift meant only for you. Now, as night falls and the noise recedes, do you dare to face that silence and begin the greatest journey of your life? Move forward with steadfastness, for the truth always lies behind the silence. And we will meet again where equanimity becomes the ultimate power.